One of the big events that come out of San Diego was Marvel's reacquisition of Miracleman or Marvelman. One question that really hasn't been addressed: will Marvel have the rights to reprint the old stories?
And I'm not going to address it here either. We will. All those announcements are going to happen very soon. You'll eventually start hearing about this stuff. We don't want to rush into anything. We don't want to put stuff out there before it's time. So the initial announcement, we just figured we'd tease everyone with the fact that well, we haven't reacquired, but we've acquired because we didn't own it in the past. We bought the rights to Marvelman from the original creator, copyright owner, et cetera, et cetera. So all that other news is on its way. So, yep, go for it.
Question for Chris. I've been reading X-Men Forever, and I was just wondering, is X-Men Forever how you were going to continue the story, or because it's out of continuity, are you just throwing the most insane, entertaining ideas out that you possibly can?
Yes. 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
All right, that's it.
They mentioned it briefly, but the Magneto Testaments. Just can I get some thoughts about making that, because it was kind of like a ballpark, out of the ballpark. Magneto's past has always been kind of crazy, weird, and then coming out and doing a Holocaust story in a comic book format. I just some thoughts about what that was like.
Right. Well, Warren Simons is the editor of that book, and when he first started talking to me about it, basically as soon as he'd said about 6 words, I knew I was going to end up doing it, because it was, sometimes you hear about a project and you can't say no. You know what I mean? It's that kind of a project. This was the chance to tell Magneto's origin in sort of to tell it all, to tell the whole thing. And Magneto is a character who came of age during the Holocaust. Chris Claremont, who I'm sitting next to, is the genius who created that backstory for Magneto. And so this whole project is because Chris had this amazing idea and was able to make it all happen. So working on this project became, it is one of those projects that I think everybody who worked on the book felt like it shared the same total commitment to doing it right. There's working in comics, continuity is a big thing, right? We're always trying to get the continuity right and to make sure that the histories of these characters, that we're keeping track of stuff and that we're being true to the characters. When you're telling a story that's set during the Holocaust, getting that history right it was so important. Because there's still Holocaust. There are Holocaust deniers out there, and we wanted to make this as historically accurate as humanly possible. We were lucky to have Mark Weitzman of the Simon Wiesenthal Center come on board as a consultant. He was able to read the scripts and help make us, keep us on track. There are a lot of great resources and books and stuff that were a huge help. The hardcover actually has all the footnotes and lots of information about where you can go for more background story on the historical events that are part of the story. I'll say that working on a story about a German kid, a German Jewish kid, who grows up, at a time when the Nazis were coming to power, and whose family gets swept up into the final solution, and it was the hardest story I've ever written. It was the hardest story I've ever researched. Just in terms on a personal level, just working on it. It was the most challenging and the most difficult, emotionally. Most difficult emotional, project to work on that level. But it was also the project that I felt the most, passionate. I feel passionate about everything I do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't really care about it. But this project was something special, and I got to say that everybody who worked on it, from the colorist Matt Hollingsworth, and Carmine Di Giandomenico, who is the amazing penciler, and the letterers. Everybody was willing to go that extra mile. There was a certain point, we'd find out certain things like, okay, well, the tower didn't exist at Auschwitz, at Birkenau, at the time that he actually arrives, and therefore we've drawn this page wrong because we just found out later that the tower wasn't really there. And Carmine and Matt would go back in at the last minute and take out the tower so that it would be historically accurate. You know what I mean? That kind of dedication just blew me away. You know, that these guys would go that extra mile, and just the sensitivity they brought to it. I mean, it's one of those projects that it kind of fills a very special place for me. So, thanks for asking about it.
Next question. You have one?
Yeah.
I'll just speak loud.
I was wondering, you know, as an editor-in-chief, you've done a lot of great things at Marvel, but as an artist, do you ever see things coming down on your desk and like, oh, I wish I could really do that, but I don't have the time? I mean, there must be a lot of things.
Yeah, all the time actually. As a matter of fact, there's a 4-issue series that's been on my desk probably for about 6 months now. That I've been looking at it like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then literally, it's funny that you ask. Literally this weekend, last weekend, I came to the hard conclusion that ain't no way in hell I'm going to get this thing done by the time that the editor really is going to need it done. And it had a really long lead time, but I'm just looking at my life and everything I have to do between now and the time that this book is due and has to be to the printer. And I'm like, there's just no way. So I found a way to split the baby, and out of about 4 issues worth of work, I might do about 19 to 20 pages in this particular series, because it does have sort of a framing sequence in it. But that happens all the time, you know. The one thing that used to occur at Marvel was there was a lot of internal freelance going on at Marvel, which I think worked as a detriment, especially from the writing point of view of Marvel, because we had editors that were writing a lot of books. So it was always tough. I mean, you know, a guy like Chris was already through the door, so Chris was working at Marvel, but if you were a young writer trying to break in at Marvel, it'd be tough because the editor that was hiring you might be writing 3 or 4 books himself. And so I have to be very, very careful also from my point of view. Now, it's a little bit different for me because I came from the professional artistic ranks into editorial. But I have to be very careful with the projects that I choose, because I don't want to be taking a project that would be better suited for another artist. I don't want to take food out of other people's mouths. And even with covers, when editors come to me with a cover assignment, my standard rule is, show me that I'm the right person for this cover. First of all, I turn down most of them anyway, but when there is a cover that I kind of really want to do, show me that I'm the right person to do this cover, and that there isn't a better artist for it. And if they can prove that to me, I say, okay, then I'll do the project. But I always have to tread carefully with that too, you know, because I'm an employee of the company.